So much like people, there are things that we do preventatively to prevent wrinkles as we age. Are there things that can be done with garments to prevent them aging?
Or wrinkling?
Wrinkling,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, certainly. There's things that you can address from a chemical side, and there's things you can address from a fiber side. From the chemical side, the number one chemical that people are using today, it's a formaldehyde-based, is I gotta get this right, dihydroxyethyleneurea.
Say that 10 more times, Bret.
Can't. I can just do it once.
Welcome to Clothing Culture, a fashion industry podcast at the intersection of technology and innovation. I'm Emily Lane.
And I'm Bret Schnitker. We speak with experts and disruptors who are moving the industry forward and discuss solutions to real industry challenges.
Clothing Culture is produced by Stars Design Group, a global design and production house with more than 30 years of experience. Welcome to Clothing Culture. Today, we're bringing you a tabletop conversation. This is where we address either a newsworthy moment or a question that has come in from our audience. Today, we're talking about wrinkles. Not just, the wrinkles that we get as people with age, but the garment kind, wrinkle ratings. Are you ready for this, Bret?
I'm ready.
Okay, so I was really surprised when this question came in from our audience. Inquiry of, how are wrinkle ratings really determined? And when I asked you that question, I was surprised to learn that it is a visual process.
Sure.
Can you tell me a little bit about
Well,
this?
wrinkles are visual, right? So it has to be a visual process to manage that. So there's an AATCC 124 test that goes through, and what they do is they take parts of fabric, they wash it 5 times, line dry it, hang it, or shirts, and then they will lay out that particular piece of fabric or garment, and they actually have these smoothness appearance replicas. They're like 3D models that represent smooth to pretty wrinkled. And smooth is level 5, meaning perfectly smooth, no wrinkles at all, and 1 is very, very wrinkled. And so under a fluorescent light at a certain angle, you'll usually have 3 different people independently verify this level of durable press rating in terms of
DP
the wrinkle.
ratings.
DP rating,
Okay.
durable press rating. And so they go in a lab and they actually lay that, and then they put this kind of 3D replica next to it, or the multiple 3D replicas, and they figure out which of those 3D replicas most closely match the actual fabric after it's gone through these processes. And then whatever that one that most closely matches is what the DP rating looks like.
Okay, so that is kind of crazy to me. Like, we're so used to infusing science into so much of the process
Well,
here
that 3D replica's science,
that's pretty
right?
scientific.
Yeah.
So is this done at the fabric testing stage? Or when is this test done?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, if you're going to want a fabric that's wrinkle-free, there's like levels: wrinkle-free, wrinkle-resistant, easy care. We've kind of associated these kind of terms in the industry. So if you're going to go through and you're going to spend the money to have a wrinkle-free fabric, you're going to absolutely run that into a test to make sure you're getting the DP rating you want or you're striving for with a particular finish.
Okay, so let's talk about longevity a little bit. When we're looking at the scale, is it a 1 through 5 scale?
Yep.
Okay, so when we're looking at the scale of where this falls on that scale, that's just, as it is in that moment. But we all know.
After 5 washes.
After 5
washes and hanging usually is that test.
Okay.
So it goes through kind of a laundering process, you don't just wrinkle it up and throw it on the table. It goes through a specific series of processes, and if anyone is really interested in looking at that, you can look up that AATCC rating or
Okay.
test level 124, and there's some stuff online, or you can go to testing areas and they'll kind of walk that through.
So much like people, there are things that we do preventatively to prevent wrinkles as we age. Are there things that can be done with garments to prevent them aging?
Or wrinkling?
Wrinkling,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, certainly. There's things that you can address from a chemical side, and there's things you can address from a fiber side. From the chemical side, the number one chemical that people are using today, it's a formaldehyde-based, is I gotta get this right, dihydroxyethyleneurea.
Say that 10 more times, Bret.
I could just do it once, but it's a formaldehyde base that actually enhances cross-linking in fibers, especially cotton fabrications. It's really used for mainly cotton fabrications, and provides a very high level of a wrinkle-free result, and it's long-lasting. It has a lot of other attributes. It's really the one that's used most of the time, 90% of the time, in wrinkle-free finishes. And you can do a post-cure fabric or you can do a pre-cure fabric, and those have different results also.
I mean, when you say formaldehyde, that doesn't sound very good. That sounds like it's, could be potentially harmful.
I suppose overall formaldehyde has a lot of negative impacts on animal life, humans. It can interfere. It can be carcinogen. It can interfere with kind of a lot of different things, birth, reproductive cycles, things like that. But that's in concentrations that are relatively high.
Okay.
In these processes, you don't generally get a lot of high concentration. But the fact that you're using this chemical, the use of it, the disposal of it, etc., there are more and more people that are interested in moving to non-formaldehyde alternatives.
So what are some options that are free of formaldehyde?
There are a number of options that are coming onto the market with varying degrees of success when it comes to wrinkle-free and durability. So you can imagine the more natural alternatives probably have a little bit less of a DP rating and probably have a little bit less of a life cycle. That's just kind of where our science is today. There's a dimethylurea glyoxyl.
Another tongue twister for you.
Yeah, and that process is formaldehyde-free. It requires more chemical use, so you're actually using more chemicals to get that cross-linking in place to get your DP rating. It's got issues too. Over time, it can yellow fabrics, and so there's always pluses and minuses to those. One of the newer ones on the market is pure press technology, and that's really interesting. It's formaldehyde-free. They're touting it that has a lot less of these negative kind of impacts. The distribution is growing, and it's exciting to see that people are moving into these non-formaldehyde kind of alternatives.
I can imagine so. And, are they still producing a decent DP rating?
I would say that when you look at DP ratings, it depends on what the customer's looking for. So basically 3.5 to 5, I would say, is really wrinkle-free, that range.
Okay.
Anything below that, 2 to 2.9, is probably wrinkle-resistant. And then anything below that, you might throw into easy care, perhaps, if you've got some kind of a blended fabric. But really, that 2 to 2.5 can be interchangeable between easy care and wrinkle-resistant. So you've got to maintain a DP rating of 3.5 or and above, and that's where that challenge starts to hit with a lot of these kind of new alternatives, because they might hover around a 3, they might be 3.5. There's a lot of attributes also within the fabrics and the fibers themselves.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you next.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about fibers that can be a little more wrinkle resistant. And of course, we're aware of some of those that we love so much that are just invite the wrinkles. So let's just talk a little bit about those options.
Yeah, on the wide range, people that love wrinkles will wear linen, right? There's a famous designer that said, don't bother wearing linen if you hate wrinkles. And then on the other side, you've got performance fabrics like polys and nylons that naturally in the fiber itself, they resist wrinkling. And as we move to more of an easy care society, not many people love to iron things. I have this weird thing about ironing. My mom taught me to iron years ago, and so I don't mind breaking out an iron and pressing my own shirt.
It's kind of your morning meditation routine,
right? Morning meditation, a little cathartic. Yeah. And so that's okay for me, but a lot of people just don't want to deal with that. They want to be, and if you're traveling, you want to jump out, you want to throw something on and go. So these alternatives that we're looking at in the fiber world also have other complexities tied in. So you can have the basic fiber like poly or nylon, but also the construction of the fabric itself plays a role. In cotton, in natural fibers like cotton, also the quality of the yarn itself plays a role.
Sure.
So if you have very short staple, low grade cotton, and it's, let's say, spun in a certain way where, there's these areas where you can see a lot more wrinkling versus a nice, densely woven, high-end, long staple, premium grade cotton, that's going to wrinkle less too. So there's all these things that you can do in addition to these finishes in the fiber stage to help improve the performance also.
That's so interesting. One of the things that you are commonly known to say is not every country does everything well. So I imagine with regards to these finishes and with regards to these fibers, there are going to be countries that are more ready for wrinkle-free, wrinkle-resistant kinds of manufacturing. Can you tell me a little bit about where those specialties lie?
I would say China controls most of the wrinkle-free today. That technology has been in place for a long time. To give a shout out to a company called Lutai there. Lutai is probably known in the industry as probably one of the best, foremost wrinkle-free fabric companies in the world. And you pay for it. I mean, they have really mastered the wrinkle-free process. And so if you want it, most people will go there. Other countries are trying to weigh in today. It just requires installing all the machinery, importing all of the particular chemicals, and kind of committing to being a wrinkle-free facility. So there are other Asian countries that are doing that, Vietnam, Indonesia, especially in bottoms and things like that. But not to the level, in my opinion, of China. China is really, really, they're the largest in terms of overall production, but they're also one of the centers for wrinkle-free. We're seeing some of that growth in India, but it's few and far between.
Sure. I imagine as they evolve to embracing more synthetics in the future, that perhaps we'll see an evolution there?
Well, and it's driven by the customer. Our customers wanting the natural fibers that are wrinkle-free and wanting that performance, and are they willing to pay for that, and to what level, and what level of demand? That's for every country to sort out for themselves, customer by customer.
There's really a lot of things that a customer can consider when weighing the options for wrinkle-free or wrinkle-resistant, or even these considerations with regards to treatments, chemical. Are we embracing formaldehyde? Are we embracing some of these new technologies? There's really a lot to sort through. I'm sure that pricing can vary based on which direction you want to go.
Yeah, dramatically. And there's wrinkle-free things to be aware of. There's wrinkle-free additives that they'll put on a surface that will temporarily give you a DP rating of maybe 2.5, maybe 3, but after 5 washes, it's gone. So be really, really careful about doing the research to make sure, if you're paying for some additional performance finish, that it's going to be last long enough for you, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having this conversation about wrinkles with me today. I had a feeling that you might not show up for this one when I said, let's talk about wrinkles.
Yeah, that's true. I have plenty.
Well, don't forget to subscribe to stay apprised of upcoming episodes of Clothing Culture. And my goodness, please share any questions that you have so that we can bring them up in a future Table Talk conversation.